In this video, you will learn about the next big issue impacting the environment and human health. We're talking about microplastics, the barely visible physical and invisible chemical threat lurking in not only our air, land, and water, but even in our bodies. What's up, everyone? My name is Moy, and I'm with Steve, Sean, and Aiden, and we're with Restera Inc., or TTI. Just a group of friends aiming to increase awareness of microplastic pollution and its effects on public health and the environment. This video will kick things off with defining microplastics and their origins, then we'll go over their global distribution and what to expect with that in the future. And lastly, we'll discuss some of the impacts of microplastics on the environment and concerns for human health, given what the world's experts know so far. First, what even are microplastics? I mean, we've all heard of plastic. Is microplastics just microscopic forms of plastic? Pretty much. The state of California's Ocean Protection Council formally defines microplastics as solid polymeric materials to which chemical additives or other substances may have been added, and which range in size from roughly 1 nanometer to 5 millimeters. Anything larger than 5 millimeters is considered a macroplastic, or just plastic. For reference, 5 millimeters is about the size of an eraser on the back of a pencil. So as you can see, there are larger forms of microplastics that are visible. That said, most will be invisible to the naked eye. Microplastics generally fall under two categories related to their origin and their sources. We have primary microplastics and you have secondary microplastics. Primary microplastics are those that are purposefully manufactured at sizes within that 1 nanometer to 5 millimeter range. Think of plastic pellets used for a wide variety of everyday items, or microbeads used in the production of who knows how many personal care products. Now, secondary microplastics are those that are broken down from larger plastics. Just think about how much plastic there is. Think about how much plastic you've used today, how much plastic we use in our daily lives. From the moment we wake up, to the clothes we wear, to the products we use, to the food we eat, to the items we physically interact with on an average day. Plastic is literally everywhere. And it's been that way for the majority of the last 70-ish years since commercial production of plastic began around 1950. With all that plastic, just think about how many microplastics could have possibly been fragmenting or breaking down throughout that time. The figure is mind-bogglingly large and almost impossible to accurately predict, given that microplastics are constantly degrading from the macro to the micro to the nanoscopic scales. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Plasticene.
So how prevalent are microplastics? How widely are they distributed? What is the extent of the contamination? Experts have found microplastics pretty much everywhere that they've looked. The problem is global. Wherever there are humans or have been humans, you'll likely be able to find microplastics. From the oceans to the coastlines, from the surface water environment to groundwater, agricultural soil to our own drinking water. The food we digest, the greater food web of other living organisms. It is in the air that we breathe. It's everywhere. Experts estimate that to date, there are about 20 million metric tons of microplastic pollution environment, and the figure is expected to increase exponentially if the pollution problem isn't addressed. Keep in mind that the plastic pollution we've discussed, plastic degrades over time into secondary microplastics, and that makes microplastic pollution even larger.
Now, to be completely honest, microplastics research is in its infancy. There is more and more we're learning about this issue on a daily basis. Although our understanding of microplastics is ever evolving and likely to get much clearer over time, it appears that so far, the microplastics pollution problem is most prevalent in our oceans. Our oceans are polluted with microplastics primarily due to transport through the urban water cycle and wind action. About 85% of marine waste can be characterized as plastic or microplastics, and global amounts of plastic polluting the oceans are expected to be doubled by 2030 and to triple by 2040. Current research suggests that microplastics are also found in surface water environments and in groundwater, microplastics likely originating from urbanized wastewater and septic systems. This urban discharge works its way through the water cycle and the process repeats itself over and over. Although early research suggests that fresh surface and groundwater is affected, the issue appears to be more prevalent in marine environments, where marine life is susceptible to microplastics ingestion, entanglement, and the transfer of microplastic contamination up the food chain is inevitable.
All right, moving on to microplastics on land. Microplastic emissions are shown to rival levels found in water, and land contamination is on the rise. In particular, areas with high amounts of contamination are coastlines, urban and industrial soils, and roads. The next time you walk on a busy beach or lake or river, it won't take you much time to find microplastics. I mean, just check out how many microplastics we picked up in just about 10 minutes from our local beach here in Southern California. And these are just the ones we were able to see at the surface. Urban, agricultural, and industrial soils also have high levels of microplastics. Not surprisingly, the highest concentrations are found in soils that are on or adjacent to urban manufacturing facilities. That brings us to roads. Why would roads have microplastics? Well, it just so happens that microplastics are highly concentrated in rubber polymers. And what's in direct contact with the roads we travel on? That's right, rubber tires. Synthetic rubber fragments from tires have been shown to account for a majority of the microplastics found in oceans. Think of that tire dust. In some estimates, as high as 78% of marine microplastics are shown to derive from tires. When we consider that approximately 70 million people around the world drive on a daily basis, it's easy to see how pollution problems continue to worsen over time.
Lastly, what do experts know about microplastics in the air? We just mentioned tire dust. Urbanized roads appear to be the dominant source of airborne microplastics. As for indoor air, early research indicates that anywhere between 2 and 13% of household dust particles are made up of microplastics. And even one study showed that in some instances, indoor air microplastic concentration may be as much as 15% higher than outdoor air microplastic concentrations. But generally, what we know so far is that half-lives may range anywhere from as short as days to as long as centuries.
So, microplastics are everywhere. But what does this mean for you and me? Is it time to panic? Is it time to freak out? Should you be preparing to dump out every single piece of plastic you have at home? Be it food and beverage containers, utensils, furnishings, electronics, toys, fabrics, medical devices. What about protective coatings on dozens of surfaces? Is anything safe?
Humans are exposed to microplastics primarily through ingestion and inhalation. All we can say for now is that research is ongoing. Microplastics and the thousands of associated polymers and additives contaminate our food web, and particles have been shown to transfer into human tissue, exposing us to chemicals that disrupt our endocrine and reproductive systems. Systems responsible for the development and release of hormones throughout our bodies. These effects may be a consequence of microplastics' abilities to mimic natural hormones, antagonize their action, alter their patterns of synthesis and metabolism, and modify expressions of specific hormone receptors.
When it comes to microplastic contamination, so far it's the reproductive systems in mammals that appear to be the most at risk. One toxicity report in mammals exposed to microplastics via drinking water showed that exposing male subjects experienced effects in testosterone concentration, sperm deformity, sperm count, sperm viability, sperm mobility, and sperm maturity, with sperm deformity being the most affected, followed closely by sperm count and testosterone concentration. Female subjects also experience reproductive effects in their hormone concentrations. Other studies show that microplastics have been detected in human lungs, blood, placenta, and even breast milk. Although all this information seems daunting and certainly raises alarms, when it comes to human health, the fact is, there is still much to be learned about. Many more studies are required to confirm, expand, or refute current findings and claims on the impacts of microplastics on human health.
I mean, are people just dying left and right because of microplastics? Doesn't seem like it. So for the time being, what can we do? We can learn. We become more aware, spreading awareness on the microplastics issue, familiarizing ourselves with the ingredients in the hundreds of products and materials we interact with on a daily basis, using our better judgment to reduce our exposure as much as possible. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about TTI, check us out at TrestTerraInc.com or via social media. Stay tuned as we learn more about microplastics and follow along to stay up to date on the latest research. Listen guys, we hope you enjoyed the video. We're a brand new channel, so if you could like, comment, subscribe, and share with your family and friends, it'll really help us out and we're extremely grateful for you.